Welcome, everybody, to the Born Again podcast. On today's episode, we have our very own Zach Cromer.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome. So we have Matt, Zach, Jarrett, and myself, and we're going to be going over Zach's recent archery, how to tune a bow, and a little bit about his business that he's started up here recently.
Yeah.
So tell us about yourself.
All right. Zach Cromer here. We introduced ourselves in the first episode a little bit, but Zach Cromer, I'm from here in Northeast Ohio, living in Worcester Creston area, and just really dedicated myself to archery the last 10 years of my life, and been a bow technician for a pro shop around here. Just fell in love with archery, and I kind of got a little bit focused on it, and just really loving it, and it's basically all I do. So
yeah. So let's just jump right into this weekend since it's fresh. But you had a big shoot and you did well.
Yeah. So I went to the Field National shoot over in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, 5-hour drive. So that's fairly close for a large tournament. As I said, in another part of this, they got cut out. I've driven 10 hours for a shoot before, so 5 is not terrible. I was talking to a guy this weekend, and he drove like 11 hours just to come out and shoot. So guys,
how did he do?
He didn't do well. It was good practice for him. He did well. And I'm just teasing. If he's watching this somehow, I'm sorry.
He probably is.
No, he did fine.
We love you.
No, he actually did pretty well, honestly. I was just joking. But yeah, I don't know. Where was I going with this? Yeah, so it was
11-hour.
5-hour drive. This was the Field National shoot in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. I've been shooting a lot of field archery at home, but I've never gone to a national shoot for field archery. So this was my first one. I was super excited, and my goal before I got out there was to make top 10. And I know I'm a good shot and I do well locally. So the top 10 goal was like, that should be pretty attainable. Like, I'm not too worried about that. And I met my goal and I got humbled with 10th place. So I'm happy about it. But it also gave me a ton of drive in the near future. Quickly to go over the format. It's a 5-day format for amateurs. I won't get too crazy technical with a lot of the guys watching this, probably hunters. But there's a hunter round, an animal round, and a field round. And you can shoot out of all of the points. You can shoot 1,708 points total out of 3 different styles of field, and I came away with 1,680 points. So that was good enough for 10th place. So it was a great shoot. I learned a lot. It's a lot of arrows, and I love that. I love that I got to shoot so much. I think I got to. You can shoot almost 500 arrows for score.
Holy smokes!
At this tournament, and there are not many tournaments out there that you can shoot 500 arrows.
Most tournaments you go to, it's like 30 arrows.
Yeah, 30
4
arrows
days.
for each day.
Is it 4 days?
Yeah, it was a.
You went for 4 days.
I went for 4 days,
but you can shoot 5 days.
You can shoot up to 5 days as an amateur. And you can take 2 of your best rounds from the animal, and then 2 of your best rounds from the field. And then, I messed that
hunter.
up. 2 of your best rounds from the hunter, 2 of your best rounds from the field, and
1 animal.
And like I said, you guys can, if you're interested, which I hope you are, you can look up field hunter and animal round targets, and you can take a look and see what those look like. But yeah, I mean, it was a great shoot. I shoot a lot of arrows. And that's what I love about it. I mean, like Matt said, you go to like an ASA tournament, which if you're watching this, there's 3D archery called ASA or IBO. You'll shoot 40 arrows in a whole weekend in like 3 days. So, I enjoy the aspect of being able to shoot more, and there's more forgiveness in your score. But yeah, so I mean, that's, field is my passion, and I was happy to come away with I hit my goal, and I was happy about that. Yeah.
We were definitely happy.
I appreciate it.
I was impressed.
I appreciate it. So, and I'll go into this because this is what we're here for, but I should have been a lot higher than 10th place.
Actually, I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about this. I have to.
Yeah, and I don't understand what happened. So
okay.
This will be the first time for me hearing it.
So
tell them what happened, Cromer. Wait, hold on. Let's throw a little teaser into this. So tell them where you would have landed if you wouldn't have had this mistake.
So...
then we'll get into the mistake.
With additional morale, I probably would. I know without the additional morale of doing my mistake, I would have landed in 5th place. without this
And
one
guys, this
mistake.
is a national tournament. Like not to pat Cromer on the back and just say he's honestly like this is
amateur too. This isn't professional.
Yeah, but it's still a national.
It's still
tournament.
it's good. I mean, it was a good turnout for the
You did
amateur
really
class.
well.
So. Okay, so this is, I'll get deep into the weeds here for a second. So, with this field national tournament, you can shoot 2 of the hunter and 2 of the field. And the cool part is you get to take your best score out of those 2. Well, guess which round I messed up on? I messed up on the animal round, which you only get to shoot 1 of those for score.
Of course.
So that was perfect. That was great.
Well, what happened?
Well, I'm going to get there. So on this animal round, if you look at the target, actually I know most of you probably don't want to look it up, but anyway, if you look up this target, the dot, if you're watching this on YouTube, the dot ranges from the size of a dime to about the size of a quarter, or a little bit bigger, okay? And you have to shoot that 28 times from about 13 yards to 59 yards, okay? So my first 2 targets...
I thought it was 63.
No, 59 or 60 is the max on the animal round.
Gotcha.
And so the first 2 targets, you're shooting at a small dot. I think the first one was like 30-some yards. The second one was like 50-some yards. And so I'm like, all right, I need to relax so I can start hitting these dots, right? I'm like, I got to relax. I'm too tense. I need to start hitting these dots. So I get to the next target, and for some reason, I'm telling myself to relax. Well, I relax as I'm at full draw, and I'm not on the target yet. So I'm drawing back. I kind of hit my back wall, and sorry, I hit the springs here. And I decided to rotate my ring finger and my middle finger before I was on target. So my arrow misfired, and I dropped 5 points from that. And
Cromer sent one 30 feet over the bed.
I didn't do that. It wasn't that bad.
Did you find the arrow?
No, I did not find
He said it 30 foot.
No.
Cromer's over here like, I barely missed it, guys.
Over the bail, but I did.
You did.
It did go over the bail, and luckily the NFAA Field Nationals is set up very safely, so nobody was in danger. Nobody was in danger. And there's a quick side note: over in Redding, California, 3 people have been shot. So by accident.
I thought it was like 3 people a year.
No, like total. So you just gotta be very
how many
careful.
people at that event?
A lot, 1,000.
Yeah.
So,
Thousands.
yeah. So, but anyway, we actually had a meeting that weekend at Field National that says no sky drawing, and which means you can't be pointing your bow at the sky, and then because if something like that happens, it's a misfire. Mine was not pointing in the sky; it was just barely over the target.
horizon.
It was not the horizon.
Yes, it was.
not the
It
horizon.
wasn't sky, it
You're
was
gonna
just
get me
horizon.
banned from an NFAA event, okay? So it was not sky drone; it was just barely over the target. So, and then I said, go ahead and relax, and I wasn't even aiming at the target yet, so that was my misfire. But anyway,
Well, luckily, explain this
it's so
because
technical, but yeah,
if you would have been on the field or hunter round, you would have got a 0.
yeah.
But because it was an animal, you still made up those points.
Kind of. I still lost 5 points. You lose 5 points either way. So if you hit
True.
the dot, yeah, I was like, you're still
would've
down
lost.
5 points.
Still lost 5
It'd
points.
actually been better to do it on the hunter round because I could have made up for it. But anyway, it's a lot of crazy stuff going
Technical
on.
points.
A lot of technical stuff. None of you are going to catch. But anyway, when you miss the first arrow, you can walk. There's 3 or 4 bricks on a far distant target. I got to walk up to the next brick, which was like 40-some yards, and I hit the dot. And I guess that's about the size of a quarter. So I caught the 17 points out of a possible 21, but that's a 5-point swing. And if I had a shot a 1685, that would have put me in 4th or 5th place. So, and that's what's crazy about these tournaments is you shoot 3. I think, where did I write down? How many arrows do I shoot for score? Hold on, I wrote this down. I thought I did. I didn't. But anyway, you shoot almost 300 arrows for score, and one major mistake, you might as well not pack your bags, but you basically got kicked out of the top 5 if you're a good shot. So, lesson learned, but I will say that gave me some drive for the next one.
Is that your first misfire ever in a tournament?
I think so.
standpoint?
Actually, I think so. In a major tournament, yeah, I missed up my sight, but I don't think I've ever had that happen before. So what a perfect time for that to happen.
First.
I'm very happy that was when it happened. So, but no, it was good. I mean, that tournament was one of the best I've ever gone to. It was ran really well. It's in field. 3D's really taken over, and field has kind of taken a step back in the tournament archery world. But I would like to see it pick up again because it truly, like field archery, it truly is like it shows who is the best archer. you are shooting from 20 feet to 80 yards, and you're shooting a lot of arrows, and it just weeds out the people that know what they're doing 50 yards and in. So, and it's super technical. You have to switch targets. You have to go up and down, left and right. You have to know which side of the course you're on. I mean, it's so technical, but that's what makes it challenging and fun, is the technicality of it, in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was Field Nationals. I could talk to another hour about it, but nobody's going to know what's going on because I know you guys hunt mostly if you're watching this. So, but yeah, if you guys follow my Third Axis Designs page or follow me, and you can message me if you got questions about it, if you care. If not, I understand, but I'm happy to talk about it. It's my favorite thing on the planet. So
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
From 1st to 10th place, what was the point separation?
I have a screenshot of it. Hold on a second. So from first place was a 1691, and 10th place was a 1680. So
11 points.
11-point swing, and 5 of those was a misfire for me. And then you also got you think about it, the what ifs. If I had that, if I'd hit that dot, or if I hadn't had that, how would the rest of my weekend have gone? Yeah, confidence. I mean,
confidence is everything when you're shooting your bow, and if you would have hit that dot,
it could have changed the weekend.
It could have changed.
Yeah, it could have changed the weekend. So, but what ifs don't count. So,
unfortunately,
I'm stuck with 10th place, but it really gave me the drive to work harder at it. I know what I need to do for the next event, and to me, I'm passionate about it, and I'm excited because I know before I die, my goal is to go to that event and win it. So, and I know that I can do it.
You can do it.
You can.
Yeah,
sure.
I just turned 27, so I've got a couple years before I have to
but I'm going
quit.
next year.
Oh, Matt's going next year.
Boy's gonna run him for his money.
Yeah, so I'll have to take care of Matt when he has a misfire, shoots the wrong target. And I was proud, real quick to wrap it up, I was proud of myself because I never shot the wrong target, technically, and I never misset my sight. I almost misset my sight probably 3 or 4 times. One time I was at full draw, and I was looking at the target. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. I let down. It was a 20-yard target, and my sight was set at 57 yards. So luckily, I noticed that my peep sight. I would have been in the wood probably. I would have shot the wood beam that holds the target in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did a lot of things I'm proud of, and I hit my goal. But it did humble me because I can do top 10, and then Jesus said, "Here's 10th place," and so work harder next time.
Yep.
But yeah, so
Good.
yeah, that was cool.
That's good to
I
hear.
enjoyed it. So we'll wrap that.
Wrap that part up.
Yeah.
Let's go into tuning a bow.
Sure.
Let's see here what kind of questions we got. Derek, did you have anything good to start with?
Yeah, well, something that I was curious about is if you look up on YouTube and you're like, how to tune your bow, there are so many different ways to tune your bow.
Yeah.
And something that I was wondering is which one is the easiest to do at home for the guy that just wants to either tune it or check it and he doesn't have all the tools?
Or Zach Cromer.
Yeah,
or Zach Cromer
you can stop
at
at
the
my
phone
house. If you live in Northeast Ohio, you can stop by. Just text me first. And
paper tuning is basic, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean,
It shows how much I know. 'Cause I have
no,
Cromer.
it's fine. And this is why we're doing this because, like I said, I've been a bow tech I was a bow tech for 8 or 9 years, and I learned a lot in the pro shop that most people will never get to know. But that's changing now because of YouTube and because of the internet. I mean, a lot of guys can learn this stuff at home. But you sent me this question, and I wrote it down in this way. If you want to, let me back up. There's a lot of pro shops out there, and there's a lot of pro shops that know what they're doing, and there's a lot of pro shops that hired a guy last weekend and he knows as much as you, but he has the tools and you don't. So, I mean, if you really care about your bow tune and you want to take this seriously, I wrote down you just need about $100, and these are the things that I suggested to get started. Because I mean, you're listening to this to learn something. So, these are the things that I would do if you want to learn how to work on your own equipment just to start. Let's see here. We kind of went down the middle of this.
And not to interrupt you here,
Go
but
ahead.
as of a couple years ago, I knew nothing about tuning a bow. I mean, you went to wherever you purchased your bow, they put your rest on there, got it close, put your sight on there, you went home, sighted it in for 20, 30,
Yes.
40 yards, and you were hunting with that.
Yeah, that's a great, and that does the job for most people, obviously, because that's what 90% of people probably do.
Right.
But, you know, you can go to the next level, and it's not that difficult. So I said $100 is about what you need. And the first thing you have to get is a vise, okay? And the vices that are professional are very expensive. Excuse me. They're about $250 to $300. So I was scrolling through Facebook one time, and somebody came up with the idea of a bike vise, okay? And they're like $37 on Amazon. I even took a screenshot of it, and I'll mention it here in a second. But if you can get a bike vise, and if you're watching this on YouTube, basically it just mounts to your table, and it just has like a gap in it that can be tightened like a vise, and you can put it in your on the grip of your bow. And what you can do is you can mount to the table, and then your bow can be floating in midair, and that's the start, because you have to be able to
work on it
without being on a table. Yeah. So a bike vise, and then you need a string level, you need an arrow level, and a tape measure, and those are the three things that you need just to get started. And it's $100 or less. I mean, it's not too bad to start. But a lot of guys, you can check to see how the pro shop did things. I know some pro shops that don't even use levels, and they just eyeball it and they hand it back to you, and it gets the job done. But, I think we're here to, like, maybe get a little bit better than
next level.
Yeah. Go to the next level instead of just getting the job done. And to double-check people's work. People have off days. People haven't drank their coffee yet. Or they just don't care sometimes. But, yeah, and then on top of that, when you go to order stuff, try to go through your local pro shops. This podcast is not saying stay home and don't go to your pro shops. We need the pro shops. We have to keep them going. We got to keep the brick-and-mortar stores. If there's an emergency, you can't wait 2 days. You got to have those pro shops to take care of some emergencies. So, the things at the string level, the arrow level, and not the bow vise probably. You might have to go through Amazon on that one. But, we want to keep, start your bow shop, your pro shop, and try to order those things through them. And a lot of these places have Lancaster accounts, so they can just order whatever you want through Lancaster a lot of the time. Lancaster Archery is the biggest seller of archery products on the planet. If you don't know it, check out their website. We're not sponsored or anything, but it's cool. And so those three things to start, and you can check. You put your bow in the vise. You put the string level on your bow. You make sure it's level. You put the arrow in the D loop, and then you put your rest up, and you just check to see if if it's nock level, your bow's level. That's the first thing. I mean, that's literally the first thing to check, because you're going to have rough arrow flight if things are not level, and that's just my opinion. There's a lot of people that say just eyeball it and then paper tune it. That works, but I like to start with perfection and being level. That's how I like to do it.
Right off the top.
Right off the bat is everything's level. So those three things, and then while you're ordering the string level and the arrow level, order like a foot of D loop, and you'll need a tape measure to check your center shot.
Right, which is nothing.
D loop is, I think it's $1 for it's like $5 for a foot, I think, is what it is. So, I mean, you can do little things like that, and that really will take you to the next level already, out the gate. I mean, if you're hitting a pie plate at 20 yards, you might go to a smaller pie plate at 20 yards.
Or a golf ball or something.
Yeah, sure. Especially if you're already doing this, that means you already care.
Right.
So you might already be a pretty decent shot at this point. But yeah, I mean, and what I wrote, I thought this on the way here, there's two things to hunting, okay? You got to find the deer, and you got to shoot the deer, okay? It's 50-50. They go hand in hand. One's not more important than the other. You can be in front of 100 deer, but if you can't hit one, then
what's the point?
What's the point?
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that 100%.
It's 50-50. So, if you're going to put, this is obviously where, 2022, food's not that scarce. This is a hobby for you, and it's food. And, if you're going to do it, just go a little bit harder into it. And also, is there anything worse, guys, than wounding a deer?
Or just flat out missing.
Or flat out missing. All that effort and time that you put into getting in your tree stand, all that stuff, and you didn't spend an extra 3 or 4 days to check your stuff, or you didn't practice enough. So that's a start. And if you're listening to this and you care, please just message me, and I can send you links to everything. And I'll say, hey, go to your pro shop and ask for these things. Have them order it for you, and it's going to be around $100. It's not a big deal. But you'll be surprised how quickly things tighten up. And The second question that Jarrett sent me was, what's the importance for hunting for tuning your bow? That kind of summarizes it. And then he said, what's the importance for tuning your bow for target archery?
Right.
And the answer is obvious, but you will not know your true potential on how well you can shoot with an untuned bow. There are some guys that are just freaks, and they can shoot an untuned bow very well and do it very well, but there's not too many of those guys.
It's 1 in a million.
It is. There's a guy I was listening to a podcast one time, and he said, I shot an untuned bow for years and years, and I won tournaments. But then he said at the end of the podcast, he said, yeah, but when I tuned it, I shot even better after that.
Yeah, right.
So some guys just have God-given talent, but you'll never know your true potential of your shooting ability unless your bow is somewhat tuned. I mean, it's somewhat tuned, and it's not hard. And then to roll back to the tools that you need, the center shot is very important on bows, and most of the time they're specified from the manufacturer, the center shot, because the engineers, these bow manufacturers are unbelievable, and they know everything about everything. They built the bows. So, Matthews is 13/16 of an inch from the inside of the riser to the center of your arrow. Grab a tape measure, make sure your stuff is level. Put your arrow through the center of the burger hole to start, and then learn how to tie a D-loop. You just type in, how do I tie a D-loop? And you can figure it out on YouTube pretty quickly. So, just the simple things like that, if you like to hunt, you're going to probably enjoy shooting your bow. I hope you enjoy shooting your bow. So this just ties everything together. And then it's going to be more rewarding when you have done a good job getting your bow put together and you put time into it, and then you smoke that deer at 35, 40 yards, and you didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of that's my advice to start. And if you guys, Matt, if you got anything to chime in, or if there's something that you see that I do that I should mention, you should say it. But yeah, that's.
No, I think kind of going back to what Jarrett said about, I think we need to talk about specifically what people can do tuning wise. Yes, buy the levels and everything, and that's a great start. Make sure your bow is, let's say, level perfectly. But let's touch base a little bit of what you can do after that. So you've already got your bow level, or maybe you actually go to a pro shop where they do know what they're talking about.
Sure. Yeah, and there's a lot of them out there.
Let's talk about that. Okay, I want to do more than just paper tune from the shop and go home and sight it in. I'd say walkback tuning would be good.
So if you've got a good paper tune, you're already ahead of a lot of people. That means this can get deep in the weeds, but that means you have a well-spined arrow. That means your arrow is spined to the poundage of your bow correctly.
Hold on. I don't mean to cut you off. Let's talk about this real quick.
Yeah, it's important.
It's
very important.
Because, hold up, this is super important in my mind. For you guys watching or listening that want to become a better bow hunter, picking up any random arrow with any random field point on it, for real though, that is
I know.
I'm not going to throw out any names, but there's a guy that I know.
Don't throw any names, please.
I'm not. there's a guy I know that we're actually pretty decent friends, and he gave me some arrows to fletch for him, and he had two different models of arrows.
Models of arrows. Nice.
And they were 40-some grains off from each other. And I fletched them for him, and I was like, yeah, well, I'll do that for you, buddy. The next day, I gave them to him, and I'm like, you realize that your arrows are 40 grains off? And he's like, why does it matter? They're both 300 spine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, they're both 300 spine, but you're shooting a different model arrow.
Yeah, now quick side note.
Which causes you to miss 6 inches low at 60 yards.
There's going to be a lot of guys that are going to listen to this and be like, I've been doing it my way for 20 years and I've killed 17,000 deer. That's fine. We're just trying to help you become a little bit better. That's all. We're not trying to put you down if you go to Walmart and get arrows. This is not. I have to be careful because I don't want to sound like I'm some arrogant, perfect archer. So
no, but this is for the guys that want to go next level.
I just want to say that, we got to, tread carefully. We're not trying to offend anybody here.
When I first started off, I had a very cheap bow with Walmart arrows.
And it happens. And
with the cheapest stuff. And yeah, I killed a few deer with it, but I did not shoot near as well, nor have...
Did you ever miss a deer? Or did you ever miss a deer?
Yeah, when I picked up that cheap bow with the cheap arrows, now obviously I wasn't a very good shot yet because I didn't practice much, but I missed the first 2 deer that I shot at. And then, luckily I got one with that bow, but I quickly figured out, obviously the more money you spend, but the better gear that you invest in, and the more you practice. I mean, it was just like
It just catches up quick.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
practice is key, guys. Like, I don't want to sit here and say you got to spend $2,000 on the greatest and latest equipment. Practice is key. Anyone can take a Goodwill bow or a pawn shop bow.
They sell bows at Goodwill.
Well,
I wish they did.
I don't know if they do.
Do they have any weapons at Goodwill?
I'd say not. Pawn shops. You can take a pawn shop bow
I
and
bet in West Virginia they got a bow and Goodwill.
I guarantee you somewhere. Yeah. But where I was getting at is
I know, I'm teasing you.
You don't need to buy the flagship bow.
No, we're not
You
talking
can
about
buy
that.
the $300 budget bow
And still tune it.
and tune it.
Roughly.
And put decent accessories on it. Not crazy, just decent accessories, and you can shoot really well with that
Yeah,
bow.
absolutely. And
Really
and this, like I said, if you guys, this stuff is expensive, and we understand that, there is a budget for everybody, but you can still always maximize what you have, and you have the ability to, make yourself better and make your equipment better, no matter what the equipment is. So, but yeah,
Let's go back to that. I think we got off topic a
spine.
little
What
bit.
do you want to
spine.
No,
Well, yeah. Let's touch base.
Touch on the spining of an arrow.
Sure, really quickly, and
Because when I started, I didn't know any better. I just went out and got an arrow setup that I like. I didn't know what 340, 250, any of that stuff meant.
so when I worked at the Fin, Feather, and Fur here in Ohio, they're probably the number one pro shop in Ohio as far as size and stuff.
Size-wise,
yeah. They probably still are. But I had the guy, his name is Chris Murphy. He'll never watch this. He's probably 55, 60 years old now. But
Cromer
I hope he
name
does.
dropping.
I hope he does.
He's gonna call his
I love
place.
Chris. I love Chris. He was so funny. But he called it, I'll just real quick, he called it a spline. And for 8 years, I said, what spline arrow do you need? It's spine arrow. It's the spine of the arrow. I think it was just like a redneck southern thing, but I always called it the spline. But it's the spine of the arrow. And, if you don't, so...
Grams per inch.
Yeah,
I've heard that
grams
one.
per inch.
I've heard that one a bunch.
That's cool. I haven't heard that one. That's
cool.
Hilarious. Splines and grams. That's hilarious. But yeah, so I mean, this is basic, but this is kind of a cool fact. Somebody's gonna say I'm wrong, but what I believe what they do is they put an arrow. This is how they measure the spine, just so you understand it a little bit better. They take the arrow and they put it on forks and at 28 inches. Okay, and I believe they take a 2-pound weight in the center of the arrow, and however far that arrow bends is the spine of the arrow. So this gets confusing. I was confused when I first started. For the most part, most arrow manufacturers, the higher the spine, the weaker the arrow. And that's because when you put a 28-inch arrow and you put a 2-pound weight in the center of it, as it draws the arrow farther down, the number is higher. So like a 500 or a 600 spined arrow,
It's extremely weak.
that's a weak arrow because it bent more. So that's how you understand the spine, first of all. Otherwise, it's like, what the heck? You would think 600 to 1,000 is stiffer than a 200 or a 150 or something crazy like that. So that's kind of a cool fact that I figured out quite a few years ago. So that's how they measure it. And so, the higher your poundage is, and the more front weight you use on your broadheads and stuff like that, you need a stiffer arrow.
Which is lower spine.
Which is lower spines, like 250, 300,
300 is a
350.
good one to start with.
300 is a great one. If you're shooting 70 pounds and 27 to 30 inches, you need like a 300 to 350 arrow, depending on the brand, 340. If you're shooting like 100 grain tips, and then you got people like Matt over here who like to blow through shoulders. He shoots, what do you shoot out? 200 grains up front? What do you shoot up front?
I shoot 150 with a 70 grain insert.
Sure. So he's shooting over 200 grains.
What's that,
So are you shooting
220?
250s or 300s?
I'm shooting 300s, but they're a little underspine.
A little underspine, he's got 28-inch draw. So that's probably pretty close. But anyway, long story short, that's how you understand it. And then, when you look at the arrow manufacturers, they have a spine chart. So basically, just take a little bit of time, look at the spine chart from your manufacturer, talk to your pro shop. I am pro shop. Talk to your guys at the pro shop, and just figure out what's best for you, because that really ties into your tune of your bow. If you've got the wrong spined arrow on a heavy pound bow, you will never get it to shoot well. Through
You're
paper,
going to be chasing your tail.
you're going to be chasing it because your arrows are overflexing, and if you're shooting a fixed blade up front, you're just going to be sighting your bow in with a fixed blade. You're not going to necessarily be shooting field tips and fixed blades at the same time if it's not correct. I actually, quick story, I had a guy, he had a 31-inch draw and like a 70-pound bow, and he brought over a 400 spined arrow. And I spent probably 2 hours trying to tune this bow. And I was just trying and trying. I couldn't get rid of a high tear out of it. And then I'm like, dude, I think these arrows are under-spined too much. And then he brought back the correct spine, which is like a 300, 340, instant bullet hole. Instant. So it just shows, it goes to show, how important that is. So that's that's a major thing, and it's easy, and it's an expensive mistake, because when you buy a dozen arrows and you bought the wrong spine, you just dropped $180 on arrows, and you didn't take 6 seconds to look and or understand what it means. You're going to be chasing your arrows, you're going to be losing arrows, you're going to be breaking arrows.
And then you lose efficiency. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, everybody watching this is hunting,
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm talking hunting, too. Yeah. And then, an underspined arrow can actually snap inside of a deer, too, a lot of the times. I mean, you're shooting a deer and
full pass through.
Yeah, you hit something hard and your arrow can just snap. So, I like to be a little bit overspined sometimes for hunting. Not crazy, but like maybe the next size up, especially if you're shooting more than 100 grains. But that's the spiel on the spines of an arrow. It's important, and hopefully that helps
just
you guys
do your
understand
research.
it. Yeah,
just do your
hopefully my explanation helped you guys. Some of you guys understand. I hope that this is.
And then the other thing that I want to touch base on real quick before we jump off that topic is, make sure if you're going to tune your bow and you're going to spend all this time and effort, make sure that you're running the appropriate weight up front. Whatever your hunting rig is going to look like come deer season, make sure you tune that. Because I've talked to a lot of guys that will go to a pro shop, tune their bow with one arrow, and then right before season, they are like, this latest and greatest comes out, and I'm going to shoot these arrows.
Sure.
Well, that arrow's not going to shoot the same out of your bow, and your whole tune's wrong.
I'll get a funny story real quick, and it's similar to that. I went to the pro shop, and I had them, and this was the Finn before I started working there, I had them set my bow up, and I thought, I'm the smart guy. I'd take it home, and it was just a cheap rest, and I thought, well, I'm going to move my rest, because I think this is what it needs to do. So I moved my rest, and I don't shoot the bow after the pro shop has tuned it. And I go out in the woods, and I see this buck about 30 yards, and he's walking behind some brush. I never get a shot at him. I was like, man, this stinks. So I go back home, and I test shoot an arrow to see if it would have hit. I missed 6 foot off the target. Completely missed. So just the same thing. Just, test your equipment, and don't change things before you go hunting. And if you do, you need to shoot the crap out of it once you change.
And then the other thing I want to touch base on, because I've made this mistake, guys, make sure that if you're going to shoot a lighted knock, that you tune your bow with a lighted knock.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh,
absolutely. So many people think that it's okay. And like going back on that guy that I flushed his arrows for, half his arrows had lighted knocks, half his arrows didn't. And I'm like it's nothing against him. He just didn't know.
Yeah, right.
He didn't know. And I'm, guys, first of all, knock pinch is huge. Because if
explain that if you want to talk about it.
Talk about
what's
that.
Knock pinch.
So knock pinch is when you draw your bow back on a shorter axle bow. So most hunting bows are like 34 and shorter. When you draw your bow back, the angle of your string gets a significantly tighter, steeper, where you're attached to on the D loop. So that's what causes the knock pinch. Just imagine your string is straight when your knock is on your string, and when you draw it back, it's how steep do you? I mean, I don't even.
Well, I mean,
it's so.
I hate to be jumping around like this. This stinks to jump around, but the knock pinch. Goes back to the having your own equipment and having your own tuning equipment and being able to tie your own D loops.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, a little extra is having some extra serving laying around and tying knots above and below the arrow. And a quick way to check to see if you have knock pinch. This is a really cool trick. You're gonna please be careful with this. Be careful. But what you do is you put your arrow in the D loop, and you always draw your bow back with an arrow. Always, never draw your bow back without an arrow. But you're gonna take. This is what you do. You take the tip off of the arrow. Okay. And as you draw the bow back, if your arrow is getting raised off of the rest, that means that you have knock pinch, because the tip
do not shoot your arrow.
Do not shoot this arrow. You will have half of a dry fire.
Liable for
I'm not liable. I'm not paying for any equipment that you break because of this advice. Do not shoot it. I have shot without tips before. It's not good. But anyway, what that does is that tells you because the weight of the tip will keep the arrow on the rest. You take that tip off and you draw the bow back and it raises. That means you have knock pinch, and that is just a nightmare downrange past 20 yards.
Yeah.
I mean,
You would never have consistency.
yeah, it's not consistent, and when you add some facial pressure or torque to it, we're talking a nightmare. So quickly to fix that is and this is getting in the weeds again, but you would tie knots above and below the knock, and like Matt said, if you're shooting a lighted knock, you want to tie in a D-loop to match the lighted knock because they are significantly thicker. Thicker. So if you go back and forth,
just don't.
Now it's expensive though, because it sucks because you're shooting lighted knocks, but they do die eventually.
Buy 6 lighted knocks and just practice with them.
And try not to shoot. If you're a good shot, don't shoot your own arrows because you will destroy them. Shoot at different spots,
and then you have 6 that you go hunting with.
Yes, and then when they die, then you have permanent lighted knocks that are
same weight and everything.
Yeah, exactly, right. And I think there's a few manufacturers that actually sell the knocks without the lights working cheaper, like 6 of them for the same cost as 3. But anyway, it's really important. Then on the back side of that, if your D-loop is too big and your knock can slop around really sloppily, you will not a word that appropriately. If it's sloppy, you can load your arrow, and it can be in different positions in the D-loop.
Yeah.
And then you're shooting high and low, and we don't want you guys to chase yourselves, because there's nothing more frustrating than shooting your bow poorly and not knowing why. And those little things, I hope we didn't jump around too bad on that, but those things, I know.
Just listen to the podcast like 3 or 4 times over.
Time stamp it, Kevin. D-loop at 16, D-loop at 27, D-loop at 18, okay? Time stamp it. But yeah, I mean, those are the things that I've learned over the years, and lucky for these suckers sitting around me, they get to experience that professional. So, which is I'm happy to help with. But that's being in the pro shop for 8 years. And 10 years, and I'm happy that I was able to learn it, because then that just transferred over to my target archery too. So I mean, learning how to do all that really put me at the next level. And I got to test all of my stuff on the shop's presses and stuff. So that was a nice learn.
That's cool.
But I'm just joking, Finn. I didn't do anything too bad, so don't come after me.
Well, and for a lot of new guys that are just getting into bow hunting or target archery, they don't know any of this stuff. So.
No, this is I sometimes take for granted the amount of, and I'm not trying to brag over here, but the amount of knowledge that I've gained subconsciously, and I know over the years, it's just like, oh man, and then I start talking about it for 6 hours, and I'm not even out of ideas. So or out of tips and stuff. So it just compounds. It just compounds into what I'm able to do now. So I love it. I mean, I'm passionate about archery.
Yeah.
I have a problem, honestly. My wife can probably agree with that. She probably would. She says I'm an idiot and I love this a little too much. So, but I mean, that was one of your questions. What is my passion? I'll just do the podcast by myself.
Seriously, from not knowing you, it's been a few years now, but seriously, you are so passionate about this. I mean, when you're tuning my bows and you're like, something just rubs you the wrong way a little bit, you're like, gotta fix it.
Yeah,
fix it.
Let
me tell you what, them things, when he's done with them,
I try to get.
They do. They do.
Fly good, yeah. But I mean, before, and I might have mentioned this in the last episode, but I have a addictive personality with my hobbies, and so it was baseball, and I was that kid that had about 70,000 baseball cards. They're probably worth something somewhere in a damp basement, getting ruined right now. But it's not. I wish I had collected Pokemon.
Seriously.
Like this guy next to me, and he did okay. Bunch of nerds. But yeah, they went from baseball to archery, and I like that. I like that I don't get burnt out. Like, I can just really, all I think about, focus on, and it doesn't, I'm not like, I'm tired of this. Like my dad, when I first started working in a pro shop, he's like, you're probably not going to like to shoot your bow after you work in a shop all day. Wrong. I could shoot. I could do it forever. So I love it, and I love it because first off, it's an individual sport, and I control me. There's nobody else saying, you can't go play, you need to sit the bench, you did this. I decide what I do. I decide how much I'm going to go into this, how much money I'm going to spend, how many tournaments I get to go to, and there's no way that says you sit down unless they beat me, and then I do have to go sit down. But there's no, so that was the first thing. And then the second part is you can be perfect on score, but you can never be perfect. Like, yeah, somebody shot 30 perfect arrows in a Vegas round, but they didn't shoot 30 inside-out X's. So it doesn't matter the level. It's an impossible goal to reach to be perfect. So in this sport, you can always go to the next level, and that's something that I like about it. There's no peak. I mean, that'd be equivalent to you hitting a hole-in-one every single hole on a golf course. It's it's the same concept as that. It's impossible. Yeah. And if you do that, you're a liar. But and I do know some liars in archery, and it's annoying. But no, it's but yeah, those are the reasons. My personality is addictive to my hobby, and then I just know that there's always room to grow. I'm not an aggressive competitive person, but I'm kind of like a quietly aggressive competitive. Like, I don't like to lose, but I'm not going to like scream about it. I'm going to quietly try to beat you for the most part, and
them are the people that are scary.
Yeah. I'll do it in the background, and then you'll be like, oh, he won. And like, yeah, I worked hard at it. So
good.
Yeah, that's my rant on my love for archery.
No, you're good, dude. It shows how passionate you are.
I like it. I like it a lot. So, I mean, and the other cool thing is if you were pro in college or something, for sports, you get to be fat on a softball team. There's no end to archery. There's guys that are 80 years old still shooting their bows competitively.
Right.
So that gives me, I know that there's no end to it, which is, I like that too. So it's a really cool sport.
Yeah.
And hunting too.
So let's circle back to before we jumped onto the spine of the arrow. Mm-hmm. Different ways to tune your bow at home past paper tuning.
Yeah.
We touched on walkback tuning.
Yeah, so walkback tuning, and Matt helped me just try to straighten this out. But basically, the walkback tuning is actually more important than paper tuning. Paper tuning is a great start. But the walkback tune is a simple rest movement when you're in the backyard shooting your bow. So what you do is you take this is what you do. You take your 20-yard pin, and you shoot it 20 yards. And then once you've shot your 20 yards, you have a dot or something that you're aiming at. And then what you're going to do is you're going to hang a string from
and at the 20 yards, aim at the top of the bail.
Yes, good call. Yes, at 20 yards, you're going to aim at the very top of the bail without missing, without being unsafe.
Like, aim as high as you can without missing.
Without missing and being unsafe. And once you've done that, you're going to hang, and you're hitting dead, you're hitting dead center. You sight your sight in. Move your left and right of your windage of your sight in, okay? You're going to hang a string off of that arrow or something right above it.
With a weight on the end of it.
With a weight on the end of it, so it's not blowing around. And the gravity's going to pull that string straight down, okay? And then what you do after that is you just start going back 5 yards apiece, and you do not move your sight, because what happens is your axes of your sight can be off. So you shoot at 20 yards, and you start walking back slowly, and you don't move your sight up and down. You still use if you're using pins, you just use your top pin the whole time. And as you go back as far as you can until you start to hit the bottom of the bail. Don't do anything dangerous or dumb.
Hold on, just so
aim at the same spot.
You aim at the same spot.
That's why Matt's here.
With your 20-yard pin.
You're always aiming at the same spot.
At 20 yards, aim at the top of the bail.
Yes.
You hit in the middle. Tie your string. Go to 30 yards. Aim at the same spot or the same dot with your 20-yard pin.
Yes.
So your arrow is obviously going to hit below your first one.
You want it to.
What you're looking for...
If it doesn't, you got problems.
Yeah, what you're looking for is you want a perfectly straight line down.
And then when you get to, hopefully if you have a big enough bail and you can shoot out to 50 yards.
60 yards, yeah.
This is when this is why micro-adjustable rests are cool, but they're expensive. So once you get out to 50 or 60 yards and you start seeing that your arrow's missing by, 3 inches left or 3 inches to the right, what you do is you go opposite with your rest of how the arrow's hitting. So if you're hitting left...
And we're talking micro adjustment.
We're talking if you don't have a micro adjustable rest,
it's impossible. Unless you have a micro adjustable.
Close, but you can take an Allen wrench and just tap it. And then almost all rests have markers on them, hash marks. Watch those hash marks, and we're talking a 32nd of an inch. We're talking, unless it's really bad, unless it's a foot off, then you got...
Well, you got bigger problems than that. Yeah.
But that is for the guy. And to do that means you're doing well and your bow's tuned pretty well. But that is the next level, and that's going to help you with broadhead tuning. And you can. I'm not going to get into it, but you can get into the bare shaft tuning. I need to do more practice of that myself, but there's other things. But that's a good. If you're listening to this and you're a hunter and you want to get better to start out, those two things are good. And paper tuning sounds easy, but it's actually not at all. And you need to have. If you're listening to this and you don't have the equipment or the knowledge, that's when the pro shop steps in.
Please go to a pro shop.
Please just do not. What I was talking about with the levels and stuff, that's safe. That's safe. You're not pressing the bow. You're not doing anything. You can just move the rest around and check your center shot, because sometimes, like I said, a tired guy just doesn't check your center shot for you. That's just and he doesn't check your D-loop. Those are the simple things, but you're not pressing your bow. You're not going to hurt yourself. We do not advocate, if you don't know what you're doing, to press your bow. That will result in a busted bow, busted face, and I'll be sad for you.
Yeah.
And I will not pay for your medical bills. So, yeah, but definitely, and like, I do not, like I said, I'll say this 5 times, but do not, we are pro shop. Go to your pro shops. Talk to your guys. And then, on top of this, if you, I'm sorry, this is rambling, but, when you are, if you want to get better with this, and, in the off season, Matt's discovered this. There are local, for wherever you live, there's local target shoots, and you're going to find some local guys that know what they're talking about. So, it's good to befriend people that have been doing target archery for a long time, and they most likely hunt themselves. Mm-hmm. So, if you really want to get next level and, make this a hobby and hunting and
hold on, like, you don't even have to make it a target rig.
No.
We have hunter classes.
I'm talking take your hunting
just take
rig.
your hunting bow and go shoot. Like, in the summer, in the winter, there's 3D leagues in the winter it's normally in like a barn or like in a shop.
Stay sharp during the winter.
You just shoot 20 yards at 3D targets. It's so much fun.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm sorry this is rambling, but yeah, just things that are coming to the top of my head. Just
shoot your bow.
Shoot your bow, and if you don't like shooting your bow, but you like to hunt, get a crossbow.
Seriously though, for real though, I 100%.
I mean, and that makes me sad. You will draw a tear to my eye because you're missing out on a lot of fun. But
it's a lot of hard work.
It's hard work, but how satisfying is it when you smoke a deer with your compound at past 20 yards? It's the best. It's one of the best.
That's why we do it.
Yeah,
that's why we do it because of the high.
Yeah, because you
the
get
adrenaline rush.
The hard work that what is satisfying if you don't work hard at it? Nothing. So I mean, this is it's just everybody should, if you're hunting deer,
on a T-shirt.
Yeah. But let's get back on track with questions. Like I said, I'm sorry, this is just all over the place.
This is
it's good.
Yeah, I hope so.
I mean, I'm even learning a few things.
Sure, that's what we're here for. So,
well, do you think anything else tuning wise would be beneficial in the yard?
No, but I think that
what about like group tuning?
No, not yet. That's like I'm still going to be working on some group tuning stuff. I'm watching some pros, and then
what about knock tuning?
No, not yet. Okay. So,
I think you could do knock tuning. I really do. If you're a good enough shot.
Knock tuning is, you can do it with paper, but if you're shooting your bow and you have a paper tuned bow and you are consistent enough and you're not torquing your bow and you're not shoving your face in the string, facial pressure, dude. I could be here for 8 hours. Actually, I don't know if it's already 9 o'clock.
We'll just do another one.
Yeah, we should do another one. But I mean, where was I going with this?
We were talking about knock
tuning. If you're not shoving your face in the string, if you're not torquing your bow. And you consistently can get a paper tuned bullet hole. Sometimes with arrow manufacturers, nobody's perfect. You will get not a bullet hole with paper. Excuse me. And then what that is that can be your arrow. You'll find out the better you get. It's in the beginning. You should not be blaming anything but yourself in the beginning, because you most likely cannot see the issues. Okay, because you suck because you first started.
We all sucked. Yeah.
We all sucked. I mean, there's no way I could do so. But if you get better and you can be consistent in a lot of ways, if you're paper tuning and you get bullet holes, and all of a sudden you don't get a bullet hole, what you can do is you can take the knock on your arrow and you start twisting it, and that up vein or cock vein, whatever you want to call it. As you're twisting it, the cock vein does not always have to be straight up, because you can twist your arrow, you can twist the knock, and then go to the next vein over. Don't shoot with all cross-eyed, but you can twist that knock until you get a bullet hole sometimes, and that sometimes is just manufacturing errors. Sometimes.
Well, what I was getting at more with knock tuning is if you're a decent shot. Like, you are grouping extremely well, and you have a random flyer.
Oh, sure,
That's
outside.
what I was
Sure,
getting at.
sure, but you can see it through paper easier. But yes, on top of that, if you're just
But
shooting
most
groups
guys, what I'm
outside-
saying is most guys don't have
Truth, most guys on paper tuner.
paper tuner. So
So-
what I'm getting at is, if you're shooting 60 yards and you're just pounding, but you have one arrow,
Sure.
it's like every time I shoot, why is this one arrow
Number
6
your
inches?
arrows. Number your arrows.
Yeah, for real.
Number your arrows. I said it 17 times because sometimes it is the arrow. Sometimes it
seriously,
is. It truly is sometimes.
when
And
you
then-
get really good, yes.
Yeah, when you get good enough, and then you can call that arrow out. CULL, call the arrow, and you can get rid of it. Put it in the we call it put it in the back
Back
of
of
the
the
bus
bus.
in your quiver, and that can be your groundhog arrow. That can be your
Coyote arrow,
Yeah,
yeah.
whatever you want it to be. I mean, shooting the barn for all I care.
Let's talk about that so they understand. If you have an arrow that's a flyer,
Yeah.
after you numbered it,
Yes, consistently. I'm talking like, oh, it shot bad once. I put, no.
no,
Shoot for a week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're shooting for even an evening, and you shot 100 arrows, and that number at 7 is always high left, always every
and it has
single
to be
time.
consistent. It's not like it's a flyer left one time and then a flyer right
Yeah,
one time.
if arrows 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are high left, that doesn't mean that means you're shooting.
It
poorly.
has to be consistently a flyer in
Yes.
a certain direction.
Yeah, and I agree a certain direction sometimes, but yeah, it should be a certain direction. Anyway, once you've pulled those arrows and you can find the one that's bad, you've numbered it. What Matt was saying was the knock tuning, and it's the same thing I was saying with the paper tuning. You can just turn that knock
Just turn your arrow
to the next
180
vein,
degrees.
to the next vein, and then shoot it and group it again. And sometimes you can get that flyer out of there, and it has something to probably do.
The way they've bonded the carbon.
Yeah, sure. It could be the way the arrow's flexing out of the bow sometimes.
Yep.
And then also you can have bad components. So don't be afraid to grab a new knock every once in a while and throw a new knock in there, or grab a different field tip and see if the field tip's slightly bent,
yeah.
or something like that. I mean, like I said, if you are having a hard time hitting a paper plate at 20 yards, this advice is not quite.
It's too far.
You're not quite ready. You will be if you keep at it.
Keep trying. Keep at it.
But this is like 40 yards, 50 yards. You're grouping like an apple probably, or a baseball, and then all of a sudden you have an arrow that flies out
just randomly.
And side note, if you're listening to this and you completely disagree, I'm sorry, but this is my life experience, and this is what I'm.
Hey, and everybody's entitled
Yeah,
to
and then if you think I'm wrong, then that's cool. But and then make your
drop
own
it in the comments. Actually,
do your own podcast and tell me that I'm wrong. But this is just life experience and what I think is correct. And I got a little bit of experience under my belt, so not trying to brag about that, but it is.
it's
it
just
is
the
what it
truth.
is.
It helps, though, to have experience.
It does.
It backs up your data.
Yeah, it does exactly. So, but yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to do another one of these because there's more stuff in my head that I want to talk about, but I don't want to sit here
Where
for
are we
3
at?
or 4 hours.
Where are we at, Kevin?
We're almost at an hour.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Let's
something
wrap- let's- yeah, let's
something that
wrap
I
this up.
definitely want to talk about real quick is I want you to touch on your business.
Yes, thank you. I was going to
And-
force you to let me talk about my business.
Yeah, no, I want to hear about it though.
All right, so if you look at my hat, I am the CEO, I am the manager, I am the laborer, I am the salesman,
He's the janitor.
I am the janitor, I am the technician, I'm every position.
engineer.
I'm the engineer. I am I'm everything.
Hey, I'm a tester.
Yes.
Product tester.
I've got some field testers left and right of me. But yeah, so third axis designs. This is a new adventure for me. And I had an idea in my head. I'm not going to talk about it because I've got to get some patents going. And this isn't the idea that I just came up with, Matt. This is something else.
Dude, the one that you just came out with is.
Yeah.
It's
We will
sweet.
not talk about it.
I'm not
We're
even
not going to
joking.
talk about it. I've got to get some patents.
He's so nervous
I've
right
got-
now.
He's like, nobody say it. Nobody say it.
No, I'll throw his computer out the window.
Listen,
Buy him a new
I'm not
computer.
going to talk about it, but I promise you guys, when his latest, I'm going to call it invention or
Yeah,
idea,
sure.
or
That's fine.
when this thing comes out, oh my!
It's pretty cool.
Have you ever heard of like reinventing the mousetrap? Oh,
It's actually a mousetrap. It's actually not archery at all.
Oh,
I just made it a mousetrap.
I know what it is. I know what one of these is, and I'm already pumped. You're pumping me up.
it's insane.
I want to get some legal protection on it because I'm
I
excited
think somebody will
about
steal
it.
it for sure.
But anyway, we got some fun ideas. This just goes back to the passion, dude. Like,
Right.
I would not have these ideas. I would not have, what I have now without the passion that I have for the sport and how long I've been doing it. But yeah, third axis designs. It's 3D printed. I mean, I know that's been thrown around, but I'm trying to make some high quality products that work well. what I have on the market right now is I shoot Matthews. You can tell by my T-shirt if you're watching this on YouTube, maybe if the mic's not in the way. But I created side plates for it, and it's the grip where you place your left hand if you're a right-handed shooter. And I've been shooting competitively for a long time, and there was something that I wanted, and nobody made it. Except for somebody on Facebook told me they could make it, and so I'm not the only one that can make it. But anyway, it's a grip. It's called a side plate, but it's the grip of the bow, and they're side plates. So basically, you take the grip off of the Matthews bow, and from a 2019 and newer, the Engage grip, and it makes the grip a little bit thinner, and they go on the sides of the grip. That's why it's called a side plate. But I created it with a lip. That stops your index finger from sliding over and being on the shelf of the bow. And I did this because when I was shooting target archery, sometimes my hand got sweaty. My hand would slide up the grip, and I would actually have fletching contact on my finger because I'm shooting a high-risk grip. I'm shooting my hands at the top of the grip, and when I get sweaty and when things get nervous, you will actually clip your fletching on your index finger. Yep. And if you're watching this on YouTube, once again, my index finger is up like this because that's just how I shoot. I'm relaxed, and my index finger gets raised. So nobody was making anything that I liked that would protect my index finger from pushing it down. So I bought a 3D printer, and then I learned how to do CAD on my own. It's all self-taught. And I just started designing my own stuff. And you can go on my Instagram and my link, and you can message me, and I will get you some side plates for a Matthews bow. $35. I'm going to throw it in there.
A little plug.
Well, if you're watching this long into the podcast, you probably might be interested.
You might be interested. We really, right there, that dude that's watching at home, we appreciate you.
Yes, and I hope that this has been somewhat fun and educational. That's the goal. But yeah, I've got that going. I'm excited to do the podcast because this is something to help me get my stuff out there. And I know we have a pretty good YouTube following, and I hope people watch this. But I have some stuff coming out in the very near future. I'm working hard at it, and I would love to let you guys get into it. It's pretty cool. So yeah, I'm excited. But the business is 3D printing.
It's just archery accessories as of now.
Yeah, just archery accessories right now, and that's where I'll probably leave a lot of it. I know one of your questions was, where do I see myself with this business?
Yeah.
My hope is to have 30 printers at my house, constantly printing. I don't know where this is going to take me, but I don't necessarily see myself having 50 employees. We'll see. I mean, maybe I will need it one day. I don't know, but I probably would keep it, to myself. Yeah, sure, Matt, you can quit. You can quit your job and you can be my desk girl.
Hey, remember that.
Yeah. You have to wear a nice outfit though. You have to dress up for work when you answer the phones.
I can answer the phones.
And you have to cook me food too. So
how much do you pay me?
We'll see. We'll see how my products drop here soon. We'll see how much it is. But yeah, archery accessories, 3D printed. We'll see where that goes. I'd like to just be able to keep up with production myself if that requires me to quit my job and, be doing that full time. Who knows? I'm so excited about this product. I don't know where it's going to take me.
And this is just very new. So
it's so new, and it's hard when I'm trying to be a target archer, husband, a worker for Sherwin-Williams. Thanks, Sherwin-Williams. You guys are a great company to work for. And do this on the side, and also, be around for family. It is. I don't watch TV. I sometimes watch TikToks, which is stupid, but I don't watch TV. I don't have a lot of free time, but I don't care. I'm the type of guy that I have to be doing something. If you make me go sit on the couch for 20 minutes, I'm like, well, I gotta go do something. I cannot just sit around. So that's just who I am.
That's good from a business standpoint.
Yeah, I try to. So, but yeah, there's a lot of learning curves. But yeah, keep an eye out, and I will, as soon as things are in line and ready to go. You guys watching this and listening to this will be the first ones to hear about it. Please follow my Instagram, and I'm on Facebook, and you can follow me personally at ZChromes on Instagram. So, yeah, you'll find us with Born Again BowHunting, and
we'll post everything on the Born Again page as well. So just follow the Born Again page, and
so
you'll be good to go.
This was fun. We're probably at an hour, aren't we?
Yeah, just shy of an hour.
I probably just talked for 55 minutes, probably. So
I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
everybody at home's like, "Who's that?"
No, this was good for sure.
This was a good podcast.
It was fun. I mean, I'm enjoying. I mean, this is fun. I mean, it's it's one thing to have all this information, and it's fun to be able to like to go through my head and try to spit it out and try to share it a little bit. And everything that I've told you doesn't replace practice. You still, I mean, and not that I told you that much, but I mean, if you want to get good and if you want to dip into target archery, I mean, I think, what does it take? Is it 10,000 hours to be a professional at something? Is that what that saying is?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. And that's true.
Yeah.
It is true.
And it's perfect practice.
Perfect practice,
It's not just going in your yard throwing your arrows. Like, take it serious.
And you know, like I said, if you have a local club somewhere, find somebody that's good. Ask them for a little bit of help. Ask them where you can improve. Do not go on Facebook and post a video saying, "How's my form?" Because you're going to have 70,000 people saying, "You're doing this wrong. You're doing this wrong." Find
And
one.
half of those people don't even know what they're talking about.
Yeah, you're looking to get bashed.
Yeah. So find somebody that knows what they're talking about and hook up with them in archery. And just get better that way. And you know, like Matt said a little bit ago, I will answer any questions you guys have in the comments. I hope we get some views on this. I hope it starts to grow. But yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions. DM me with anything. And yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to just have Cromer
Have
at the
Cromer.
end of the line. It's like, hey, need this.
Hey, Chrome's, it's midnight, and I dry fired my bow, and I gotta hunt in the morning.
Yeah. Kevin has a friend and he's my friend too, Corbin. I'll drop your name. He blew his bow up what was he, 2 or 3 hours away in Southern
3
Ohio?
hours away.
Were you with him?
I was not.
But
he was pulling his bow up with his bow rope, and it got stuck on something, and he gave it just a little bit of a tug,
Yep.
and it
He
rolled off
derailed
the
his
hand.
bow.
Yeah.
And he was at my house at 11:30 or midnight, and I opened my doors for
fixed him up.
I helped him out. But
dude, what a guy.
it's only because
I've been like, yo, I'm sleeping.
Get out my driveway.
I did go to church with him for about 5 years, so that helped a little bit. I knew he wasn't going to murder me. But yeah, so I mean, I'm always here for everybody, and I can be there for you if you're watching this. If you have questions, I'm happy to help out. I'm an amateur. I'm not Levi Morgan, if you know who that is. But you know, we all have our info.
You're a lot better, and you're more knowledgeable than
Some people.
most
For sure.
people.
Yeah.
And you have the equipment to do it safely.
Yeah.
Yes, and I have the knowledge to do it safely, and I will.
Doing it you did it for work for
Right.
8 years. So
Yeah.
it's like,
And I will reiterate, make sure that if you're working on your own stuff, do know what you're doing. You can actually, this is, archery is still a weapon, and you can still hurt yourself in this.
Yes,
for sure.
I don't know of any deaths, but you can, dry fire and get yourself hit in the face, lose an eye.
yeah, carbon blow up in your face.
Arrows in your hand. I've
Arrows
seen
in your
that
hand.
before.
I've seen that before. Just be careful. I mean, we work with this stuff a lot, and then you get used to it, and you get comfortable around it.
Yes.
Yeah. So just, be smart and be safe and find professional help and do that the correct way, because if you do it the right way, this is the coolest sport on the planet, in my opinion. I mean, and you don't got to be, Mr. Fit either. I mean, anybody can do this. This is all shapes and sizes, and, yeah, it's an equal playing field. This is one of those sports that's an equal playing field, and if you're a competitive person and you put in the time, and if you're a woman, because there's not as many ladies out there, if you put in the time, you can really get somewhere with this.
Sarah kind of wants to go the next step next year.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
She would do. I mean, if you put the time in, you can do well. You can do well, and you can move up the ranks. We have a friend, and he's just starting, and he's moving up quick. He wants to be quicker.
His first year shooting.
He wants to be quicker, but he's, I don't know if I was shooting those scores in my first 6 months.
Middle of the pack. Yeah.
And
That's impressive.
I'm giving a lot of free information to him, so you're welcome, buddy, if you're watching this.
Yeah. You know who you are.
You know who you are.
You shoot good though,
Yeah,
buddy.
you're doing great. So I can stop
I
talking.
kind of. Are you guys wanting to
go
wrap it up? I had
little
one.
more.
I had one quick. Oh, I just hit my mic.
Go for it.
I had one quick topic that I wanted to touch, and then a quick story to kind of end it.
Okay.
So, Cromer touched base on the pro shop thing. 100% support pro shops, but I do want to throw this out there. There are pro shops out there that may not know what they're doing.
Sometimes, and you'll know.
Sometimes.
You'll know.
And I'm not bashing everyone. I'm just saying be careful. Like, I don't want you guys to think that just going to a pro shop makes it 100% legit. Like, if you walk into a pro shop and you're watching the technician eyeball stuff and just kind of like, oh, it's good enough.
Well, Cabela's. Don't go to Cabela's. Don't go to Bass Pro to get your bows worked on, please. I'm begging you. You're better off.
Name dropping.
Dude, just.
I mean, come on. I mean, go buy your equipment from there.
No, that's kind of what I was getting
Yeah,
at.
I mean, I'm not being. If you work at Cabela's and you're good, I'm sorry, but you should go to a different pro shop too.
But that's just kind of what I wanted to touch base
Yeah,
on.
I mean,
Don't think just going to a pro shop makes it legitimate.
sometimes smaller is better.
Sometimes go to the mom and pop shops. Go to the guys that used to be a professional archer that now they started their own shop. Like, go to somebody that knows what they're doing.
Cabela's is probably going to sue us now. I'm sorry, Cabela's. Just kidding. Go to Cabela's. Get your stuff worked on. Is this an LLC? Do we get sued individually, or does the company get sued? Okay, thank you. I'll talk to
That'll
Matt.
be on me.
Yeah, I'll tell Matt. Thank you for taking the responsibility, Matt.
If you go to a local shop, it's nice to have a relationship with those
Yes.
guys. And like what you said earlier, go to some shoots and meet some other
Yes.
individuals and
Yep.
have a relationship with those guys. You can bounce ideas back and forth.
Yep.
They know stuff you don't know. It's just a good all-around situation.
And I promise, if you know your technician, he just does that much better of a job.
Yes, absolutely.
He cares about you. He cares about your bow. Like, he realizes that you tell everybody that, you know, he works on your bow, so he's going to want business.
Yes.
Just build that relationship and shop around a little bit. It's no different than buying a car or, you know, going anywhere else. Like, shop around, figure out who you like, what technician, what shop, and just run with them.
Yeah.
But I actually, real quick to end, and then we'll end it. Funny story. I had to run, and I'm not 100% not going to name drop because this is bad.
We've done enough of that today.
Yeah, so I do not have a press. I did not have a press. So at the time, I did not have a press, and
This is why you go to a pro shop.
I went to.
You gonna tell the story?
I'm not going to say who it was.
Don't. Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
Should I not tell the story?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, you can.
Should I not tell the story?
No, probably not. But now the people are going to wonder, what did you do? Don't say what you did. Don't explain what happened after. But what did you do and end it there? Don't.
What did I do?
Yeah. Are you going to talk about the press, your own press work? Is that what you're going to talk
No.
about? Oh, okay. Matt pressed the bow by himself, and it didn't go
When
well.
I was 12 years
Yeah,
old.
okay. I thought he was going with that story.
No,
Don't
no.
tell that. Matt bent a bow one time.
No,
Press.
no.
Okay.
Wait, no, I didn't. No,
All
I
right.
didn't.
Okay, go back.
Anyway,
No.
that's the story. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead.
No,
I'm
the
sorry.
one that I was talking about was the. You'll find out in a minute.
Yeah.
So, 100% not going to name drop because this is like holy cow. And this kind of bounces back to what I was saying about have a personal relationship. And
With Jesus too.
yes, of course. I went to. I'm just going to say a shop. I went to a shop, and I needed a peep put in my bow, and I did not have a press. And in order to get a peep in your bow, of course, you need to press it and separate the string
Don't
strands.
move your peep sight without a press. You'll cut your string. Side note.
Don't listen to me.
I'm serious.
So I went to a shop, and they were about to close. I called them, and I had a little bit of a drive to get there. And I called them, and I said, "Will you stay open for me to just? All I need is this peep put in." And the guy said, "Yeah, if you get here by X time, we'll stay open for you." So I get in the truck, and I'm hauling to get there. I'm hauling. Long story short, I get there, and there's 3 guys that are working. One guy's helping me, and then 2 are in the back with a customer's brand new, like Hoyt, whatever the latest flagship bow is. I mean, we're talking probably $1,500, $1,600 bow with maybe $1,000 of accessories. I watched them draw this customer's bow back and dry fire it with a button.
It may have been their own. We don't know.
It 100% was not. They dry fired this bow. It scared the kid that dry fired it so bad that it actually dropped and hit the concrete. They ran somewhere to shoot it. They shoot the bow a couple of times, look it over, and then hung it back up on the shelf. And this is 100%. This is a. I swear on my life, this is a true story.
So what was the purpose of the story? What's it telling the people?
The purpose of the story is go to someone who you trust.
True.
That is why I was telling this story. I'm not telling this story to bash
pro shops.
Whoever
we're not doing that.
No, we're not bashing pro shops. I'm talking about how there's good ones and there's bad ones, like anything else in this world.
Right.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Find yourself someone that you trust and that actually cares, like Cromer does. Like, find somebody that actually is going to do as good of a job on your bow as they would their own. And let's just say that the place that I went to was, woo! Oh boy, I just drew back and just crack. Oh my,
But the bow didn't blow up, so it was a good bow.
kudos to Hoyt, I guess.
It wasn't Hoyt.
Yes, it was.
No, I thought it was a Matthews.
No, it was a Hoyt.
No, okay. I thought it was a Matthews. I swear it was.
No.
Okay, well, good job, Hoyt.
He had the H.
It's the only time you'll ever hear you say that.
Yeah. You can drive out of their bows 1,000 times.
Don't do that.
Just don't do that. That's a factory.
And 100%, guys, I'm not bashing pro shops. I just wanted to tell that story because, like, sometimes if you go to the biggest and baddest and latest and that, like, you know, not saying that every single person that works at, like, a big box store is bad. I'm just saying that sometimes
just get to know them. I agree.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't just
trust
Just
them.
kidding about the Cabela's. Just get to know. Make sure they know what they're doing. And no matter where you go, just find out. Maybe talk around. Figure out. Make sure people know what they're doing.
Do your research.
Yeah, do a little bit of research. And this is all. We just want you guys to be better hunters, be more accurate, have more fun. You're gonna have a better experience this way.
And I promise you, the more accurate you shoot your bow, the more you want to shoot it.
The more addicting that it becomes
absolutely.
too. And then you turn into a full-time target archer like myself, and then it takes over.
Oh my.
So, but yeah,
Boys, that was
a haul of the
That was a good
podcast.
That was a good one. A lot of information there.
sorry if we rambled.
We rambled a lot, and we, like Matt said, we appreciate you if you watch this because
100%.
yeah,
I know that there's at least a couple of you still listening or
many.
watching.
Yeah,
I
this is the start of many. I'm really excited.
Oh, many.
This is going to be the start of many podcasts because I know everybody podcasts now, but I see why. This is a blast.
It's so much fun.
This is fun.
It's very
And
fun.
yeah, this is a good time. So yeah.
Ready to wrap it up?
I'm not the host, so you would think that I am after this, but I'm a co-host, I guess. But this isn't my house, so
Yeah.
it might be by the time I'm done with this podcast. I'm just kidding.
All right, guys. Well, to wrap it up here, doesn't matter what you've done in the past, you can always be born again. And if you need any information, you can reach out to any of us individually if you know us, the channel.
Message
ask
the
more
Instagram,
information.
Born
Yeah,
Again.
absolutely. We're more than willing to help with that stuff. So, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you
Peace.
guys for listening.
Deuces.